Hello, this is Matt Nichols, CEO of MarketSnare. Thanks for your interest in our local search visibility performance report. Today I'm going to cover the ins and outs of the report, how to put it together, why it's important for multi-location businesses to really understand how they're performing for search terms that are really important to them across all their local markets. So let's jump in. You'll see on my screen here an example of the report that you can download. And you'll see a few things I want to point out. You can personalize your name and the data fields here. Going down the left-hand side, what you're going to see are keywords. These are keywords that are important to your business that are really going to connect you to consumers in your local markets looking for the products and services that you offer. You can see across the top, we have all your local markets where you provide services, you have a location or a franchise or an agent, any type of representative of your brand at the local level that's important for you to capture leads and consumers that are interested in your products and services in that market. The reason this is so important for multi-location businesses is that every market is going to be different in terms of how you're performing. And what we really want to do is help you understand how local relevance and building authority in each of those local markets can really help improve your search ranking across all the terms that are important to your business. And this is a great place to start, is to really capture this information. So when it comes to keywords, we recommend there's really three ways that you can search for each of those keywords in a local market. And obviously consumers, they will search however comes to their mind. So there's a lot of different searches, although Google has really gotten better at kind of grouping together very similar searches. But we can look at the data and we can determine, which keywords are really a different result set that Google thinks are different enough to provide a different result set and which ones can be grouped together. And it's really easy to do that. Just go to Google and do a search in your local market for both of those terms that are really similar and see if the result sets come back identical or if they're different. If they're different, that means Google thinks they're different search queries. If they're the same, you can kind of group those together and you don't have to do individual searches and reporting on each of them. The other thing to note is that consumers in the local market will search a variety of different ways for the same keyword phrase. So you can see here we have auto glass as an example, and then we have local market location. And so in those cases, what this actual keyword would do is take these your local markets that are across the top here and substitute them in for local market location. So for Anchorage, Alaska, you would search auto glass Anchorage, or you could search auto glass Anchorage, AK for Alaska. We generally just run it based on the name because most consumers won't put in the state afterwards. So my recommendation would be auto glass Anchorage. And then we know consumers will also, because they have mobile devices that already know their location and even their laptops and things will pinpoint their location if they allow that. A lot of consumers are now just typing in what they want and letting Google show them results based on their actual location. So you could type in just auto glass as a keyword and see what comes up. And then another common way people are searching is near me. So you could do auto glass near me, and that would give you a different result set as well. So we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the search terms, their importance, what you put in for a ranking, and how you get this data. So bear with me here, and I'll kind of jump into that as well. So on my screen now, you see a typical Google SERP or search engine result page, as we call it in the SEO world. And in this case, I just typed in shutters, right? So one of the examples that I talked about. And what you can see here is you get a series of ads, you get online shopping if there's a category for that. And these are all things that Google will trigger based on what they feel the user's intent is in the search. So you can see, just typing in shutters, and I told the browser I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. And so what you'll see here is the map pack that comes up. So right here we get the ads. This is actually the first organic result. We get the people also ask, little SERP feature, and then we have the rest of the organic results coming in here. Okay, so if you were to look at this and do this search, and let's just use Sunburst Shutters is one of our clients that we run local organic SEO programs for. You can see here, this would be the first organic listing. We're skipping the map pack, and the people also ask second, third, fourth, fifth. So I would, going back to my spreadsheet here, if this were shutters, the second option here, just shutters, I would put a 5 in the box here and say they're the fifth overall result. And the reason for that is I think that, with the map pack, it is very volatile depending on your location. So the algorithms used in the map pack, there is some overlap in the organic, but it is very much keyed in on your proximity to the address. So you're going to get widely different results depending on how far away the search is from your location. And so this isn't ever an exact science because there are so many variables, in these searches. But what this exercise is going to do is give you a really good idea overall of how you're performing in your local market across a wide range of keywords and different ways people search for those in your local market. And it's going to show you, how your overall local relevance is doing in your local authority and how you're coming up for these terms when consumers are looking in the local market. Now, if you don't have a local website, let's say you have a single national site with location pages or microsites, you can use that address as what you're targeting, right? So in this case, you'll see we've got sunburstshuttersindy.com is a local site for Sunburst Shutters. But if I scroll down a little ways here, you'll see that the Sunburst Shutters corporate website, sunburstshutters.com, is also showing up here. So in this case, if it were, we only had the national site that we were ranking on, we would use this to count down what that listing is, right? If you have both, you could do this report for both your national site and the location pages as well as the local site. So you just have to determine what you're going to do. Obviously, we want to see kind of what is ranking best for your business. So you could also take, the best one of those, but I would really recommend doing those as separate reports, doing your national and then your local sites separately to see how you're doing in those local markets. And to do this really effectively, you're going to need some type of a tool. This is a free one we link to on the tab. So if you look here, there's an instructions tab. We have a few different sites that you can use to get this data because going in one by one is pretty tedious. And what you need is a SEO ranking data tool that will allow you to specify, the location of each of your local markets, as well as where the searcher is searching from. And so with some of these tools like Places Scouts and Authority Labs, SEMrush, I think those all allow you to create a spreadsheet with the keyword, the location, the URL that you're targeting, which is generally or the domain that you're targeting, which might, if you're doing a national approach, would just be your national domain, and then the location that the searcher is performing their search from. Now, there's another tool here that's free called from technicalseo.com that I'm going to show you that will allow you to do it on a one-by-one basis. But again, that's pretty tedious, so I would highly recommend using one of the tools where you can upload a spreadsheet. So this is that technicalseo.com. They have a local search tool, and this is will give you an idea of what concept, what we're trying to accomplish here. So you can see I've picked United States, English, Indianapolis as where I'm searching from using Google, the current device I have, and then, a search query. So in this case, I did shutters near me. And I pre-did a few of these searches so you could kind of see them. So these are the different types of searches that we talked about. So here's just, I'm the consumer. I live in Indianapolis. That's where I'm at currently. And I type in shutters. This is the results that Google's giving me, right? Again, we see the ads. We see the map pack. And then we start getting into the organic listings, as we talked about before. In this particular case, the search was shutters near me. And again, you've got your ads, you've got your map pack, and then you've got your results set. So this is the first organic listing. Above the people also ask, and then we get into some of the other listings. One thing I'll point out here is you can see that the local site is outperforming a lot of these big national brand sites. And that's because of what we call local relevance. If you do a great job of being relevant in your local market, you've got deep and wide content about the products and services you offer in that local market, you're going to do better than even these big national brands with massive amounts of domain authority. So that's where really search is headed. And so that'll be a good piece of information for you. And again, this is the third type of search using a geographic modifier. So I did Indianapolis shutters. You could do shutters Indianapolis. They're going to produce very similar result sets. But again, you see I've got ads, but the result sets are different, by putting that geographical modifier in there as well. So again, you can see sunburstshuttersindy.com showing up here. So again, if I were looking at this, some people would say, well, you could put a 3 for Sunburst Shutters because they're the third listing in the map pack. But I would encourage you to do the map packs as a separate data report because the algorithms are quite a bit different than what you're showing up in the organics. And I would put them as a number 1 here for this term, Indianapolis shutters, in our spreadsheet. If we go back here and look at it, just like in this example, auto glass, Indianapolis, for example, it would be a 1, right? So you can go through, and what you're trying to do through doing this is really look at how you're doing in each of these markets when consumers are searching from that local market. And a tool like this is really powerful because it allows you to set the location that you're searching from. But the downside of this is you have to go one by one and do these and then score them all. Where some of the other tools that we talked about will allow you to kind of put a whole spreadsheet together, upload that, and then get a whole spreadsheet back. And most of those are paid service, but it's relatively inexpensive to do some of these data analysis, that you want to do to get a really good picture. And as you start to get that data, whether you get it back in a spreadsheet form or you're doing them one by one, you can start to count, where you're searching and you put them into the spreadsheet here. And then the spreadsheet will allow you, it'll support up to 200 keywords in here and I think 150 local markets. So, again, you can change that data in here, which is really important to do because that impacts a lot of the calculations. So put all your local markets across the top, put all the important keywords and the different types of searches you're going to do, up to 200 of them down the left-hand column here. And then as you get the data back, you fill it in, for each market all the way down. So in this case, Anchorage, Alaska, I do all my searches and I put the keywords all the way down. Now what this is going to do, if we scroll all the way down on the template here, it's going to summarize this data for you in a really nice way. So it's going to tell you the number of terms, search terms that you had on page 1 for each of these markets and the percentage on page 1. And the other thing you're going to want to update here is the core keyword phrases that you're doing the analysis on as well. And then it will calculate for you automatically the total number of keywords in your analysis, which is basically taking the core keywords times the total markets in the analysis to give you that total amount. And then it's going to summarize how you're doing across all your markets. So 45%, of your keywords are in the top 3 and 80% in this analysis were on page 1. Now, this is going to break down, just a little different way. The number of terms in the top 3 the number of terms in positions 4 to 10. So you're not in the top 3, but you're on page 1, and then the number of terms off of page 1. And then you're going to see here the number of terms in percentage-wise in the top 3, positions 4 to 10, and off of page 1 as well. So I'm going to get into in a second why that's really important, why we do top 3. And it really breaks down to top 3 is where the lion's share of the traffic is. So if you've never looked at one of these ranking reports that show you kind of a breakdown, there's a really good site out there called advancedwebranking.com, and they look at millions and millions of keyword searches every month. So you can see kind of how the click-through rate breaks down depending on, what position you're in the search result pages in each of your markets. So if you look at this breakdown here, this isn't an exact science, again, because Google triggers all different kinds of results pages depending on what type of search that you're in. So if it's just a purely organic search result, so you do a search and the only thing that comes back are those organic listings, you can see here what the click-through rate is based on their study for both mobile and desktop. So you can see mobile, the number 1 overall listing, gets a click-through rate of 54% on mobile, and on desktop about 34%. So that means of any time that a search is done with an organic result set, a huge number of the people will click on that first result set. Second result goes down to 21% on mobile and 12% on desktop, and just under 10% on mobile, and about 7% click-through rate for the third position. And you can see it just kind of starts to fall off the table after that. So, if you're 11 plus, which is on page 2, you're about 1% or under for some of these. Some of them actually bounce up a little bit on mobile as it gets a little bit deeper. But, we always say that if you're off of page 1, you're invisible. You have a really small percentage of getting those. Now, if we look at search results that have a map pack and the organic, it drops down a bit, but you're still getting about 30% of the clicks on that page to that first organic listing, about 14.5% from a desktop perspective, and then it goes down 13 and 8, about 9 and 5. So you can see that's why we really put focus on that top 3, because if you're in the top 3, you're getting a good amount of traffic. Obviously, number 1 overall is the best position to be in, but you really want to focus on, improving those rankings across the board. And if you do that, you're going to see just a massive increase in organic traffic, lead generation, and revenue from all those local markets. So organic is really a great marketing opportunity. The other things we really love about organic is it's always there. It doesn't go away when your budget runs out. As we see ad prices rising, organic, generally we're seeing organic visibility and the traffic and the leads being generated at a fraction of the cost of paid, and sometimes 5 to 10% of the cost of paid digital ads. So organic is a really powerful tool for you to have in your tool belt, and then you can always supplement with those paid ads as well. But if you do organic, it's going to be a really high return on investment for you. And so this report is really just doing a great job to show you, as you flow all this data into the report, how well you're doing across all your markets and all your keywords, and what opportunity you have for improvement in that area. So one last thing on the report, if you scroll all the way to the right side after you have all your markets in, it's going to summarize the data in a little bit different way, where you're now going to be able to see how you're doing for each of these keywords across all your local markets. So how many of your markets are in the top 3, total markets on page 1, and the percentages of your markets in the top 3, and the percentage on page 1. And then, we can summarize that data, for you. So now this is more of a keyword by keyword look, how you're doing across all your markets, and down at the bottom of the report is going to show you more of a market by market basis, how you're doing across all the keywords. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, or if this report is a little bit too much work for you, and you'd like us to run one for you, we do this all the time. We have all the tools already. We'd be happy to do that. And just shoot an email to the email address, on this landing page, and we'd be happy to chat with you, figure out what you're trying to accomplish, and put a report together like this for you and show you kind of how you're currently doing and where there is opportunity for improvement in your local marketing, your local search marketing, your organic visibility across all your locations, and what that might do for your business and your local representatives of your brand. Thanks for your time and good luck.